Hey, Nicole here, and today I'm going to talk about why, as an Agile coach and an independent Agile consultant, I am framework agnostic. Don't go anywhere, stay right here on this channel. Nicole here. Welcome to Acing Your Agile Career. If this is your first time, welcome. We're glad to have you. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any great value. And if you are a returning Acer, welcome back. Today, we're going to unpack why I am framework agnostic, why I am a total fan of working with the client of an Agile organization to build out a unique framework, and really why framework should not be the focal point at all. Instead, it's a means to the end, right? Getting to a result, a transformative outcome. So let's unpack it right here in this video. So yesterday, I just wrapped up with a client. By the way, if you don't know what I do, I work with other independent consultants to help them structure Agile services and sell to the big organizations, right? How do I position myself to offer Agile solutions, whether it's large-scale transformation, Agile mindset readiness, Agile trainings, it doesn't matter. But I'm also an independent consultant for organizations who are looking to move to Agile as well. Part of the overarching message was why you should not get bogged down with focusing on an Agile framework and why you should be framework agnostic. So the number one reason that I am framework agnostic is so that I can give the best solution. I actually borrow and sift and leverage pieces of all of the frameworks because I feel that there's a little good in all of them. And it's not about the framework, it's about the result. And so as a practitioner, if that means I need to pull pieces and put something together and work with the client to create their own experience, that's what Dawn is going to do. Now, with that being the case, I did go back and look at all of the years of running Agile transformations. By the way, I've worked at some of the big companies like North Highland Consulting, BCG, Boston Consulting Group. I mean, there's been a number of companies that I've worked with. So I've led transformations, I've helped to craft transformations. And when I go back and look at the common denominator, what I did, I walked away with 5 phases of transformative change, right? It wasn't about the Agile framework per se, but it was about understanding the steps towards transformative change. What were those steps? So I have for you today what those 5 steps are. It's a technique that I went back and realized was 5 phases that I call SOLID. So SOLID is a phase that I now live by, use, and teach to organizations and consultants. So SOLID is an acronym, 5 phases. The S stands for starting and setting goals. The O stands for observation and evaluation. It's what we do in the very beginning where we observe current state. The L stands for learning and going live, right? Learning and launching Agile. The I stands for inspect and adapt. And the D stands for developing capabilities. So run through of really what happens in those 5 phases. I'm not going to go deep here because remember, I do have a round table cover all of this stuff at great length. If you want to know more about that, check out the description in the link, but I will give you a high level description. So the S is really about starting and setting a goal. And what that looks like is really getting in front of the organizational leaders to understand why is Agile the right thing right now. And when you say Agile, what do you mean? You'll find out that by asking powerful discovery questions right here in this phase will help to lead you to the right outcome, right? Do we want a large scale transformation? Do we want a small scale transformation? Some companies don't know what that means. Assuming that the client wants large-scale transformation, they're considering 20 teams transforming, and they want to do this in the next 6 to 8 months. Great. Now it's time for the O phase. So the O phase is about leaning in to understand before seeking to be understood. Some things that you want to observe, which is what the O stands for, is you want to observe how many meetings are they having today? What are they meeting about? Are the meetings redundant? Probably so. Are there too many people in the meetings, right? How do they intake new work? So demand management, right? How do they support run the business work, maintenance work, right? How do they take new requests? Is there a system today? You also want to know some context on the products that some of these teams are supporting. Because what I found is not every single team should go first as a pilot or a lighthouse team. There are certain teams, especially if they're customer facing, that are better to go now than not. So anyway, that's a whole thing. But there's a measure of discovery questions that happen here. There's a measure of of interviewing, there's a measure of observing, and you need to know what you're looking for. End of this phase, you're going to give your summary of findings back to the client with an informed, customized transformation strategy for the road ahead. Remember, the O phase will inform everything else. And there's the L phase. So the L phase really has 3 high-level focuses. The L stands for learning, launch, going live in Agile, right? Whatever the ask is, we're getting ready to launch it here. In the L phase, the 3 main pieces are that we're going to kick off Agile. So we're going to launch Agile Teams training. Now, you might be thinking, well, how much training? What type of training? There are some basics that should be covered in Agile Teams training, but also the Agile Teams training will be customized based on what you just learned in the O phase. In the L phase, you are kicking off actual Agile ways of working through the communication, the pep rally. You are holding Agile Teams training, preferably the same week to keep the momentum. And then the following week, we are doing sprint 0 activities because we are going to start sprinting. 4th phase, right, which is the I phase. Now it is time to step back and inspect what we've done, right? So we are now evaluating, we are inspecting so we can adapt, right? So there are 3 facets or 3 focal points of inspection. One focal point of inspection is at the program level. Overall, how is the program going? Are we sustainable? Do people feel more favorable now toward the transformation? The second level of inspection is the team maturity, the Agile team's maturity. Are they maturing? Do they clearly understand their roles and responsibility? Do they have a disciplined backlog system, right? Are they prioritizing correctly? Are they handling pivots correctly when things change, priorities change? But the third piece of evaluation that organizations seem to forget is customer satisfaction. They forget about this survey. I know because I was hired to come in and fix this part, okay? So customer satisfaction is a big part. How do we know that we're bringing value to the customers if we don't ask them, right? And by customers, I mean end users, I mean stakeholders. So there's a whole list of great questions that you can ask that have to do with the categories of transparency. Do you feel like we're making documentation transparent? Do you feel like we're making results transparent? Inclusiveness. Do you feel like you're being included on key decisions, right? Or on key plans, right? Awareness. Do you understand that you should be attending the sprint review? Do you know where or when it is? And have you been to this? And do you understand what types of questions or what you should be listening for at the sprint review? Okay. Quality, right? Did the thing that we build work for you? Timeliness. Did we deliver this thing on time? And accuracy. Did we actually build what you asked for? So there's a number of categories, great categories to ask customers and stakeholders that you can use in that I phase. Finally, then it's the D phase. D stands for developing capabilities and skills. Remember, if you are offering Agile services like we do, then you're there for a point in time. And what you don't want to do is go in and stand everything up, and then the moment you leave, the house falls down. That is not a good sign. So the developing capabilities is about protecting the investment, protecting the skills, protecting all of the great work you just did before you leave. It's making sure that those scrum masters, those product owners, those Agile leaders have the capabilities to sustain, to keep it going when you leave. And so some of the things that we look at in that D phase that we want to introduce would be like mentoring systems, guilds, lean coffees, right? Making sure there's a playbook that's handy and that there's an owner of the playbook that's not you as the consultant, right? You don't want to do that. So there's a number of things, making sure that there's a COE that is stood up. By the way, I helped to stand up the COE in the L phase, but more on that. So this is a high-level snapshot of, instead of following a specific framework, I am framework agnostic, and rather than focusing on the Agile framework, we like to focus on the inputs, activities that get us to the results and outcomes, okay? So that's what the Solid Start framework is about. It's been super successful because you can run it over and over again in multiple tranches, and whether it's a small scale transformation or a large scale, Solid still works. So this is why I'm framework agnostic. Instead, I'm a huge believer of being collaborative with an organization so we build something great together. Listen, this is Dawn Nicole. If you got a ton of value, hit that like and subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any great value. Put in the comments what you're thinking. Were you surprised by anything I said? What framework do you enjoy? Are you also framework agnostic? I would love to hear from you. And as always, this is Dawn Nicole, where I give you real advice from a real practitioner in her real office. And as always, keep calm and be agile with Dawn Nicole. Take care.